civilizations in Mesopotamia originated on the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which are now located in Iraq and Kuwait, respectively. The beginnings of early civilization may be traced back to the Neolithic Revolution, which occurred approximately 12,000 BCE. Sumerian, Assyrian, Akkadian, and Babylonian civilizations are examples of some of the most important ones that flourished in Mesopotamia. The available evidence demonstrates that these cultures made substantial use of technology, literature, legal systems, philosophy, religion, and architecture. In today's video, we'll talk about the ancient civilization of Mesopotamia. If you find this video informative, please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Watch the video till end so you don't miss any important part. Let's begin. River valleys are the cradle of many civilizations. Agriculture was well underway in a number of regions by approximately 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, including ancient China along the Yellow and Yangtze rivers, the Indus Valley civilization, Mesopotamia between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and ancient Egypt around the Nile River. These regions are located in Mesopotamia, ancient China, and the Indus Valley respectively. This is due to the fact that the frequent river floods provided for rich soil near the banks of the river, and the rivers were also able to give fresh water to be used for irrigating crops. It is not a coincidence that some of the first civilizations in the world emerged in regions where agriculture was prevalent, because it made it possible for people to get denser and for society to become more complex all at the same time. Ancient Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia, which includes the majority of modern-day Iraq and Kuwait, is the region most commonly thought of as the cradle of civilization. This is due to the fact that it was the birthplace of some of the earliest and most influential states and empires. However, Mesopotamia is not the only place where civilization began. Its current name, which literally translates to a nation between two rivers, originates from the Greek words for middle, mesos, and river, potamus. The Tigris and the Euphrates are the names of these two rivers. Not only was Mesopotamia one of the earliest areas to create agriculture, but it was also at the crossroads of the Egyptian and Indus Valley civilizations. Mesopotamia was located in the middle of the Middle East. Because of this, it became a melting pot of languages and cultures, which had an enduring effect on the development of literature, technology, language, commerce, religion, and the law. Mesopotamia was home to a number of ancient civilizations, including the Sumerians, Assyrians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, among others. Learning about this time period may be a little bit perplexing, since different civilizations interacted with and reigned over each other throughout the span of many thousand years. This makes learning about this time period a little bit more complicated. Depending on the period of time that we are examining and the context that we are examining it in, these phrases may also be connected with states, languages, religions, or empires. Sumerians. Let us begin with Sumer for now. We assume that the Sumerian civilization originated in southern Mesopotamia about the year 4000 BCE, which would place it as the first urban civilization to emerge in the area. This would have occurred 6,000 years ago. Around the year 3000 BCE, the Mesopotamians are credited with establishing one of the first forms of writing, which consisted of wedge-shaped markings pressed into clay tablets. This cuneiform script, which is another way of saying wedge-shaped, was also adapted by surrounding peoples to write their own languages for approximately 2,000 years, until Phoenician, which the letters you are reading now are based on, began to become the dominant script in the first millennium BCE. Cuneiform is another word for wedge-shaped. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which is considered to be one of the world's first and most important works of literature, was originally written in a script called cuneiform. Sending was used by the Mesopotamians for a variety of purposes, including the recording of transactions and purchases, the writing of messages to one another, and the telling of tales. The very significant achievement of inventing the wheel is also attributed to the Sumerians. The oldest will ever found dates back to 3500 BCE in Mesopotamia. The Sumerians were able to travel into the Persian Gulf and engage in commerce with other early civilizations, such as the Harappans, who lived in northern India, because they constructed ships. They exchanged items made of textiles, leather, and jewelry for semi-precious stones, copper, pearls, and ivory from the Harappan culture. The religion of the Sumerians was polytheistic, which means that they worshipped a number of gods, many of whom were anthropomorphic, which means that they assumed the shape of humans. On top of the enormous ziggurats that stood in the middle of most of these towns was where the temples dedicated to these gods were built. The construction of these buildings would have required the efforts of thousands upon thousands of people over a period of many years. Akkadian Empire. Around the year 3000 BCE, the Sumerians engaged in substantial cultural exchange with a people who lived in northern Mesopotamia and were known as the Akkadians. These people got their name from the state of Akkad. There is a connection between the Akkadian language and the modern languages of Hebrew and Arabic. The collective name for these tongues is the Semitic language family. The name Semitic originates from the biblical character Shem, who was a son of Noah and is said to be the progenitor of Abraham, who is believed to be the ancestor of the Jewish and Arab people. Sargon of Akkad rose to power around the year 2334 BCE and established what is thought to have been the first dynastic empire in the history of the world. The Akkadian Empire ruled over both the Akkadian and Sumerian speakers in Mesopotamia and the Levant, modern-day Syria and Lebanon. The Empire of Akkad collapsed in 2154 BCE, within 180 years of its founding. Assyrian Empire. Assyria is named for its original capital, the ancient city of Assur, also known as Ashur, in northern Mesopotamia. Ashur was originally one of a number of Akkadian-speaking city-states ruled by Sargon and his descendants during the Akkadian Empire. Within several hundred years of the collapse of the Akkadian Empire, Assyria had become a major empire. For much of the 1,400 years from the late 21st century BCE until the late 7th century BCE, the Akkadian-speaking Assyrians were the dominant power in Mesopotamia, especially in the north. Near the close of this era in the 7th century, the empire achieved its zenith and reached its greatest extent. The Assyrian Empire at that time included a territory that reached from Egypt and Cyprus in the west to the boundaries of Persia, which is now known as Iran in the east. The Babylonian Empire, which was formed by Hammurabi in the more chaotic Dark Ages, during which there was no dominating force, were the two primary exceptions to the Assyrian control of the region. Babylon. After its founding in 1894 BCE, Babylon remained a relatively insignificant city-state in the middle of Mesopotamia for the next century. During the reign of Hammurabi, which lasted from 1792 to 1750 BCE, a lot of things changed. He was an effective leader who consolidated power by constructing a centralized bureaucracy and a taxing system. After liberating Babylon from foreign authority, Hammurabi went on to conquer all of southern Mesopotamia. As a result, the area became known as Babylonia and experienced a period of relative peace and prosperity. The compilation of a legal code known as the Code of Hammurabi around the year 1754 BCE was one of the most significant works produced during the first dynasty of Babylon. This code of laws, which echoed and improved upon the earlier written laws of Sumer, Akkad, and Assyria, was one of the most important works. It is comparable to the code that was written during the reign of Namu of Uar, who ruled Sumer between 2100 and 2050 BCE. The Code of Hammurabi is one of the world's earliest texts that has been decoded, and it is also one of the longest. The code was composed by Hammurabi, the sixth monarch of Babylon, in the year 1754 BCE. It was written on stone stele, also known as slabs, and clay tablets. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth is modified throughout the code's 282 provisions so that the appropriate level of punishment matches the offender's social standing. For instance, if a member of a noble class broke the arm of a person who was enslaved, that person would be required to pay a fine. On the other hand, if a member of one noble class damaged the arm of another noble class member, the offending noble would have their arm broken. Some people have interpreted the code as an early type of constitutional governance, complete with the presumption of innocence and the right to offer evidence in support of one's case. The Babylonian Empire that Hammurabi founded endured for 260 years until it was destroyed by foreign invaders in 1531 BCE. Babylon was the capital of the empire. Through the establishment of the Neo-Babylonian Empire between the years 626 BCE to 539 BCE, Babylon was able to reassert its dominance over the area. The Persians were the ones to bring down this new kingdom in 539 BCE, and they continued to dominate over the area all the way up to the time of Alexander the Great, which was 335 BCE. Why did the kings of Mesopotamia choose to construct ziggurats, given that their construction required such an enormous amount of human labor? How do you think the Mesopotamians' interactions with distant civilizations influenced their perspectives on the world? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell for upcoming video alerts.